As always, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I think with winner of the weekend, you got to go with the Diamond Sports baseball and softball crushing it out there. Baseball team playing Wright State at home. They've got four. They've got another one coming. But I think it. Let me know. In baseball, is it good if you score 44 runs in 3 games? Is that solid or?
I I have never claimed to be a baseball expert. I am the ultimate what a lot of people would call a casual baseball fan. I'm also not a mathematician, but that seems good.
Yeah, they started off pretty hot on Friday night with put up a 20 spot on Wright State, and Wright State's a good baseball program. So pretty solid pitching was really good. Got the opportunity to get a bunch of young guys into the order, and then they backed that up on Saturday with the doubleheader and put up 14 and 10 in both of those games. So the offense is clicking. They were a little slow getting started offensively this year, but it's starting to round into form, getting some good at bats. And according to everyone I've talked to, the pitching is deep. They've got a really good rotation this year. So pretty exciting with baseball. And then, softball they just run through everyone.
Baseball just needed to get away from Dallas Baptist. Just needed to
that,
get away
that's
from
that's just Dallas Baptist just kind of resets your center a little bit, right? And then you go back to work.
yeah. Now, softball, they're down at the Mary Nutter. I I wonder how Patty feels about it because you go to some of these big events hoping that you're going to get challenged, I assume. And Mississippi State gave them a pretty good game for a couple innings, but then the Sooners just completely walked away from them.
Mm-hmm.
That one was 9-3. Then you get Wisconsin 10-2 in 5 innings. The San Diego State game was non-competitive, 7-0. We're recording this before they play Seattle and Loyola Marymount. I got a feeling those aren't going to be close. I feel like Patty Gasso, she's tried her best to get this team into competitive situations, and they've had some. They've had a couple early in the season, but they just went down to the Mary Nutter and destroyed everyone, which I don't mind, but I'm not sure that's what Patty Gasso goes on those trips for.
Yeah, it's interesting. This year, their non-conference has, for whatever reason, just maybe not been as loaded as the last couple of years have been. So it's kind of interesting there, but the winning streak continues. They're going to keep plugging on and doing their thing, and I don't know. They're fun to watch. They've got another loaded lineup, and it's going to be awesome once they bring that thing back home. It's getting close.
I I just don't know. When is the winning streak going to stop? I guess we don't, you can't make that prediction when they're the best team in the sport.
I know. I I have this weird feeling about the winning streak. I want it to go forever. Clearly, I think it's awesome. But last year, it felt like that was the one thing that was like really stressing Coach Patty Gasso out. And maybe it wasn't stressing her out. She was tired of talking about it, and that was the thing that was kind of hanging over the season. I, Maybe like after you continued through it last season, like maybe that's not a thing anymore, and they're not worried about it. But I didn't like how she felt about it last year. That's
Well,
the one thing.
when she was on here with us, you could clearly feel the weight of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And when they won the national title, it almost felt like relief for that group as opposed to, now don't get me wrong, they celebrated, but for Patty in particular, it just feels as that if their profile as a team grows and it becomes a bigger and bigger deal and you factor in the win streak and all that stuff, I don't know, it just feels Like there's so much attention on this program, which is great. It's what you want, but Patty doesn't exactly love attention. I think she just wants to coach some ball and kind of live a quiet life. And right now she's the face of softball. That's what she is.
Yep.
And I don't
Have
know if she's thrilled about that.
Have you watched any of the New England Patriots still?
I was gonna dive into it tonight. I heard it the dynasty thing.
Yeah, it's good, and you know, it talks about like you can just and they kind of flash back and show it the demeanor of the team from the first championship to the second to the third, and how it goes from like this crazy wild celebration the first time and guys like celebrating, and then as they win more and more, it is not nearly as fun, and it's all about like just trying to live up to the expectation of doing it again. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting, and I can understand perhaps that mindset they're going through right now, or will be going through. So what happens when you got a dynasty, I guess, right?
That's what happens when you're on top, man.
Yeah,
The target is on your chest, it's on your back, and you are constantly in the spotlight. But they're crushing it. I mean, they
crushing it.
look really, really good. So it's going to be another exciting year in softball. All right, who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Man, I had to go with Oklahoma State. Hoops goes in and pulls the double on them, men's and women's hoops, get it done against Oklahoma State. The men in dramatic fashion, the women in dominant fashion. Pretty fun.
Javian McCollum.
Whew.
I have a feeling. Remember, you're only down one. I've got a feeling that the plan was, hey, try to get to the rim. He's been good at that. Now he wasn't exactly great at finishing at the rim in that game. You think about the one that he missed at the end of regulation. They end up going to overtime, kind of misses a bunny there at the rim, but got cut off. Had
A
to shoot
couple
what he
times.
had to shoot what he had to shoot, and absolutely buried it. How much fun was that, dude?
Oh, it was so good. My son walked into the room right as that possession started. I said, "Quick, get in here! It's the last. It's gonna be the last shot." And when he hit it, we were both running around the living room. It was awesome. That was so cool because it did not feel good at the start of it. And he was cut off a couple of times, and he was just trying to get to a corner so he could get around and gain an edge. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have to hit a step back, create some space backwards, and just pure. That was awesome.
I think my favorite part about it, there's all different angles of the celebration afterwards right there in front of Oklahoma State's fans. That's the good stuff, man. There is one guy.
He's like, ah.
He you can see it in his eyes. He generally was concerned for his well-being as
He
OU's
thought he was
players
gonna,
came over
yeah.
and celebrated.
It
And it
looked like
was just, it was funny. There's also an angle of a lady. She's almost like shooing them, like, go, shoot.
it's
It
funny.
is
Yeah, that
so,
guy
it's so
looked like
good.
he thought he was gonna end up on the bottom of the dog pile.
Yes. Yes. But that is who knows the next time that Hoops will play Bedlam. I think it would be so stupid if they don't play it home and home every single year. But if that's the last memory for a while,
Pretty good.
good. Good. I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be able to figure it out when it comes to hoops. Football is just a completely different animal when it comes to that situation. But I don't think there's any reason that we shouldn't see Bedlam hoops every single season. But if it takes a little break, is this how Oklahoma State football fans feel? Like you've got the last one for who knows how long?
I think so. I think so. And
Now, I'm not going to pretend that it's as big of a deal as football. It's not. I'm not going to pretend that, but it still feels good to be on the right side of it.
yeah, and it's nice to do it. It's a little bit more satisfying to do it on the road
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right? Just it's like it steals their thunder a little bit more, and it looked like it was a little chippy maybe with the student section as they were walking off the court there, but that was awesome, man. It wasn't a perfect game by Oklahoma. Obviously, like I don't think they led early, 16-14, and then didn't lead again until like the last couple minutes of regulation. They finally clawed their way back on top, but we missed some foul shots late. But I'll say this: I thought it was cool that we were in one of those typical Big 12 hoops games where it's the slow grinder, and then some offense broke out late. We started going back and forth. That was exciting.
It was the last 10 minutes were really, really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the more entertaining bedlams we've had in quite some time. And a couple things from that game. Suarez, he tweaked the
Woo,
ankle again with about 6 minutes to go in the first half. He was huge
huge.
for them in the second half. I appreciate that guy's toughness. I mean, what he did in that second half was massive. McCollum, I think it says a lot about the guy that he missed as many shots as he did, but the one shot he had to make, right? Or else your team loses the game. He buries it. That's big time. Hopefully that boosts him going forward. I would assume that is going to be something that will
Get some
hopefully get him a
confidence,
little
bro.
more back on track.
Yeah.
Jalen
No.
Moore, he was huge in the first half, keeping it close. Like Oklahoma State was playing really well in that first half, and Jalen Moore's production in the first half kept OU within striking distance. But it was all around. It's just a tough, gritty win on the road. Or that's Big 12 basketball.
Yep. No, it was. Jalen Moore, awesome again. I think we talked about it. I feel like he's their most consistent guy, maybe their best guy. Was huge, grabbing some rebounds, had a couple awesome, like that block shot he had on that layup was awesome. Just seeing him elevate like that. I don't know. I'm with you though. I think that I feel like really the difference between what we've seen, like when we've seen Oklahoma at their best early in the non-conference, whenever they were top 10, and kind of like as they've struggled and really had to battle here down the stretch, I feel like it's McCollum. And if that shot right there does what a shot like that often does and brings his confidence back and gets him back on track a little bit, can kind of bring them back and make them take the next step, which they're going to need down the stretch because they're not out of the woods yet. Like this win does a lot to get them, almost a locked in spot for the tournament. But I think you need one more, and one more is not going to be easy with what you got.
Now, I feel like we do a great job of being as transparent as possible with people that listen to and watch this. I can almost see your blood boiling underneath the surface when you pulled up the box score and the ad played in
Mm-hmm.
the background. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. But I'm sorry about that. I was hoping sometimes it goes across and sometimes it doesn't. I was really hoping it did. You couldn't hear it.
I could hear it loud and clear. I don't know who that guy was, but congratulations on appearing on the podcast. I could see I could see the small stress in your face
Just a little
where
start twitching a little bit.
where I thought you were going to throw the computer for a second. But the only other thing I have on that game, just an awesome win, but want to give Otega Owe some credit.
Yeah.
Guy has been really struggling to shoot the ball. So what does he do? Got to the rim. Got to the rim and had a really, really nice impact on the game. Now, was I thrilled when he fouled at the end of regulation with 3 seconds left? No, wasn't thrilled about that. But his offensive production, hopefully, just like we talked about McCollum hitting the game winner, hopefully him having that type of game in that type of environment, hopefully it gets him going a little bit, gets the confidence going, but used his athleticism, got to the rim, ended up with 16 points, and clearly the Sooners needed every single one of them, Ted.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's been really up and down for him and really for several guys, but yeah, he's got some really nice tools. He's got some good athleticism, some nice length. Um, yeah, that's the thing. That's the hope. And I still believe that when this team gets out of the Big 12, they're going to look a lot better than what they look right now. I still think that's going to be the case, but they gotta earn that opportunity, and I still think they can. I mean, it would be awesome if they could steal one of these tough games down the stretch. You got 3 top 10 teams you're playing down the stretch, so I think if you could grab one of those, it would be very, very helpful. So, and then you in the season at Texas, you got another home game against Houston and Cincinnati. And Houston won a tough one. They're a fun team to watch. But yeah, man, they're not out of the woods, like I said, but I feel much better about where they are right now.
So do I. Happy for Porter Moser and those players. That had to be. There are very few things as an athlete that feel better than going and beating your rival on the road like that. I mean, just very few things. So that was awesome. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. I've got a couple for each, right? This is kind of a supersized
Okay.
winners and losers. I'm going to start my winners with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Went to the back-to-back on Thursday night and Friday night, Ted. Now, Friday night they destroyed a bad Wizards team. 147-106. They went 20 of 40 from the three-point line in that one, but the game that everyone wants to talk about is the Clippers win on Thursday night. That's what's got the fan base, including myself, fired up. They end up winning that one 129-107. Just walk away from them in the back half of the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. Shot the ball extremely well, 17 to 35 from three. The Clippers, who have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and Norm Powell is also, he does some nice things defensively. They've got some guys that have been truly elite on ball defenders. They don't have anyone that can guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was cooking everyone. And it was so fun to watch. Chet Holmgren was really good on the glass. He continues to just be elite when it comes to protecting the rim. Jalen Williams continues to be fantastic. He continues to just excel in the fourth quarter. Dort was burying open threes, man. They made the Clippers look kind of slow and kind of old, Ted. That's what it looked like to me when the Thunder really started putting stuff together there in the second half. The Clippers they couldn't keep up.
Yeah, and uh, I try to temper my expectations and keep it realistic, because one of the things that kind of traditionally has held up in the playoffs in the NBA is young teams have to earn their stripes a little bit, right? Whenever you get into the playoffs, it becomes much more difficult. Do you have any sense that this team is either going to run into that or may be able to kind of step around that traditional little bump in the road?
At this point, I think it would be very, very disappointing if the Thunder don't win a playoff series.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I think that I think that is undoubtedly the expectation. Now, some people may say the expectation is for them to play in the conference finals. I'm fine with that. One thing you always hear about is how the pace slows down in the playoffs. And that was something that it was just obvious that the Thunder were playing faster than the Clippers. I think they outscored them 30-10 in fast break points. And they were just really pushing the pace. But the number one thing that stood out to me in that game was the Thunder's defense. Their intensity, their attention to detail, like the second and third efforts on the defensive end of the floor, that doesn't go away just because the pace of the game slows down in the playoffs.
It's true.
Now, it's impossible to measure how the guys will react to the pressure that comes with playing in the playoffs. But if the Thunder shoot the ball well, they are an extremely tough team to beat because of what they do defensively. They've got length. They're extremely active. They've got Chet Holmgren protecting the rim. The Clippers win. I know it's just a regular season win, but you can look at a lot of things in that game and go, that's a team that can win in the playoffs. I don't care how old they are.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. It's exciting times. I guess I'm caught between, all right, getting too excited about the team and it just kind of being realistic with what they've got. I think you're right. Kind of the baseline expectation is win a playoff series, and I guess styles make fights. It always depends on what that matchup is, but barring some unforeseen hiccup, you got to feel like that's kind of the minimum expectation at this point. So it's fun, man. Good stuff.
Paycom was rocking for that Clippers game. And now with that win, they've got tiebreakers over Denver and the Clippers. So when it comes to playoff seeding down the line, you never know if that's going to matter or not. But it's pretty clear that having those tiebreakers, if that ends up being the difference between home court advantage and not in your second round series, like that's huge. So I'm really excited. Oklahoma City Thunder 39-17.
What's that leave? About 25, 26 games left.
Look at you and your math.
Is that right?
So 39 plus 17 is 56. Correct?
Yeah.
We're on the same page. How many games do they play in the NBA? Quiz.
82 regular season games.
Okay. So now this is where some people will just add to the 56 to get to the 82, or some people will go 82 minus 56. Which way do you go?
I add. Do you subtract it?
I add.
Yeah.
Which maybe is the harder thing to do.
Well, I just a little block math there to get to 76 and then just finish it off with your.
Is that the new math that they teach kids?
I don't know, but that's how I do it in my head.
Huh. This may be the worst minute stretch of this podcast ever.
It may be the best. This would be the stretch that would get the most comments and feedback, though. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Tell us how you get from 56 to 82. Tell us how you get there. Put it in the YouTube comments, people. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. As long as there's no injuries are always the thing that can derail a team, right?
Yep.
If they stay healthy, man, watch out. My other winner of the weekend, EA Sports NCAA Football. We've got details. Players are getting $600 and a copy of the game. Saw OU football tweet that, the team's in the game. EA Sports put some graphics out. Stutzman has opted in. Jackson Arnold, who's switching to number 11. How about that? Has opted in.
You got to see that. Okay.
Yeah, going from 10 to 11, his high school number. So you see Jackson Arnold and Stutzman, those guys have opted in the game. You assume that if those two guys are in, then we're not going to have any holdouts for OU. It's starting to feel real. I have been reluctant. I've said it multiple times. I'm not going to believe it till I'm playing the video game. But once I saw that type of stuff, It feels very real. We've got a dollar figure. We've got all these different details, Ted. I think it's about time to start getting excited about it.
Yeah, did you see Fowler's little clip of him doing all of the voiceover stuff, 71-yard field goal and everything?
Yeah,
That was
because
cool.
if you punt on second down,
Pretty
yeah.
good.
So
Yeah,
it is. It's gonna be awesome, man. I'm excited. I'm just excited for the game to be back.
I know it's cool, and I'm glad everyone's opting in. There's nothing to opting out. It's not like you're going to get another offer. You're just not going to be in the game. It's a pretty cut and dry deal. So I don't know. Hopefully everyone jumps in and has the opportunity to always be able to go back and see themselves on a video game. Pretty cool.
I think they're gonna, from the sounds of it, they're gonna make a couple guys ambassadors. Maybe some of the bigger names in college football. That way they can get them some more money to put them in the game or to help them promote the game. But yeah, it's all taking shape. Gabe's gonna be back. Let's go. All right, let's get to my losers. Rapid fire. First one, court storming. The court storming discourse is back. Ted, remember we had the Caitlin Clark
Yeah.
situation earlier in the year. Now we've got Kyle Filipowski, who is, by the way, is projected to be a first round pick in the NBA draft, getting hurt after Wake Forest fans are on the court before the buzzers even sounded, collides with them. I don't want to hear that it was his fault. Those people are not supposed to be there. He should be able to walk off the court without getting smashed by a Wake Forest fan. Like, I don't want to hear that it's Filipowski's fault. I think that some people are like, well, he tried to trip him and push him. I don't want to hear it. If that dude's knee is seriously messed up, which I haven't heard any details, that would be, I know this. I don't know who has to pay it, but someone's paying him a big check if something's actually wrong with that knee.
Right. Well, it sucks because I think the court storming thing it's one of the things that makes college sports, right? We see it in football. So that's an awesome part of it. But you also know that it's dangerous. And anytime you have a close interaction between fans and players after what I'm sure was an emotional end to a game that usually brings about something like that, it's dangerous, like for fights, for physical altercations, for injuries, running into people, not being able to get off the court. I I don't know. I just wish you people would storm the court. I With a little bit of respect for the other team. I get it. I know it's often a rival and it's emotionally charged. I would say like the only thing that you can do is start holding the individual people accountable that go near players. And if you make an example out of a couple of people and everyone gets the message, they'll storm the court and avoid the players like the plague. But you're going to have to make some examples of some people before you do that. And I don't mean the university pays a $250 fine. I'm saying you go after the person individually and put it on their head. And I don't know what protections are there and how all that goes legally because I don't know. I guess it's up to the schools to protect the court. So I don't know how that would work. But until that happens, students run onto the court basically with immunity. And as long as they're able to do that, they're going to keep doing it.
I have I have always taken this approach. If you come onto the field or if you come onto the court, it is like international waters.
Yeah.
And you need to make a calculated decision if you're one of those students. Al Filipowski, if he felt threatened in that moment, he should have just punched that kid in the face. That's what he should have done. I truly believe that. It would have been better than getting his knee twisted up. Punch him in the face, say, I felt threatened. I was protecting myself. They have no rights on the court. None. So that's what that is my advice is this doesn't sound good. Violence.
Yeah. Hey, I I was about to say I always endorse violence, but that's not true. I don't. It would be interesting though, like he would put himself at threat to be drugged down by a bunch of minions. It would look like 300 whenever they're attacking that big monster and pulling him down with a bunch of people a foot shorter than he is
I
or more.
I just think, and I'm joking. I don't think Kyle Filipowski punching that kid in the face is the answer, but I don't think you can do anything about college students storming the court or storming the field. I think it's very difficult to do. Now you got to have a better plan in place clearly than what Wake Forest had, but I I don't want it to go away because it's great.
I agree.
It's great, but some of these some of these kids, you got to make better choices when you get out there. Don't get near the players. Don't do it. And I think that if a couple of people choose to do that and get close to an athlete, what happens happens, and they should not be punished for anything that happens. Nothing. I mean nothing. Now don't kill anyone. Now, let's not be ridiculous. But I truly believe that if a kid is sprinting at you full speed and you feel threatened as an athlete, whether you're a football player or a basketball player, and you punch that person straight in the face to protect yourself, after watching what happened to Kyle Filipowski, I don't think that athlete should be punished at all. And
Yeah.
if kids know that there is a small threat of getting punched in the face by a giant college athlete, they may veer away from them. So
Yeah.
maybe it just takes one guy to smoke some dude straight in the face right between his eyes to maybe change some of the behavior. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while since LeGarrette Blunt at Oregon punched someone on the field, right?
Yeah.
I guess it needs to happen every couple generations of students that come through college sports.
Ugh. The best scenario would be a college wrestler rushing the court and be like, punch me in the face.
But that's what I was gonna say is like I you may you may
Could create some bad situations. I know.
yeah, but the point is correct. I'm with you.
Long live court storming and field storming, but
Mm-hmm.
just got to get some of the finer details worked out. If something's actually wrong with Filipowski's knee, I don't know who's on the hook for that insurance claim, but Wake Forest is going to be someone associated with Wake Forest is going to be stroking a big check.
I can't imagine because he's a
He's in
lot
like the top 15 of every NBA mock draft I've looked at over the last couple of weeks.
so he's I mean the insurance policy that he has to be a probably a 10 million $5 to $10 million policy.
Have fun, Wake Forest. My other loser, Fanatics. The Major League Baseball jerseys are hilarious. The names and numbers are comically small. The pants are showing a lot.
Everything.
I never thought I'd see so much baseball uniform discussion, Ted, but people are legitimately mad. And when you see the side by sides, they're right. They look awful.
Yeah.
They're taking some of the embroidery away, like the stitching, which is what makes baseball jerseys feel awesome. What are they doing? That it's I'm convinced it's going to get fixed, but my goodness, not exactly the headlines you're looking for if you're Fanatics or if you're Major League Baseball. They look, everyone's laughing at them.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess like the theory was they wanted like a lighter, cooler fitting uniform, and I guess they got that, but you know, it's interesting. It feels like if you're going to change something, you have to make a change first that everyone absolutely despises, and then you find the middle ground between what you presented and what you used to have, and you end up finding the right thing, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it is interesting how vocal they've come out against a uniform change, which is rare. Like it's rare that you get such a dramatic change in the first place, but it's rare that so many people have come out on one side of it that they hate it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I would assume something's going to happen. But my last loser of the weekend, the NCAA. There are no more rules there's no rules anymore, right?
For the time being, yeah.
Judge in Tennessee granted a preliminary injunction that, quote, prohibits the NCAA from punishing any athletes or boosters for negotiating name, image, and likeness deals during their recruiting process or while they are in the transfer portal. Now, preliminary injunction, that means it is not a final ruling yet, but we know where this was headed. The judge referenced federal antitrust law, and the Supreme Court has already told us that the NCAA is going to lose every case. So, NIL, that pitch is now going to be a big part of the recruiting process, like it already is. All I ask is that it just becomes a part of guys' official visits. I've said it multiple times now. Just make it something that takes place on a guy's official visit. That is a meeting you have. You sit down with the collective and the coaches, your parents are in the room. Everyone is on the same page. Hey, this is the position you play. This is how we value that position. This is the type of NIL you are looking at, which it's really not NIL anymore. It's just this is the type of payment you're looking at. Just put it all out there. And now, until there's a final ruling on this thing, that's all good everywhere across the country. It's not just in Virginia and Tennessee. It's everywhere. So, yeah, I think we're ended up exactly where I thought we would.
Yeah, and there was some people cheering this as good. I don't know if it's necessarily good. I think it's where we knew we were going to be going, but I essentially now, at least during this time period, the way I gather it is you can call people on that are currently on rosters and say, we've got a big NIL deal for you if you want to come here. The way I gather is like it is absolutely open season. So like we've been trying to rein this thing in a little bit, because it's been the Wild West, and now it's even more so or worse. I don't know for the time being, but college football has wildly spun out of control, and I don't know how they rein it back in until they like the upper tier division that they've talked about. Until that happens, I don't think you have a chance to rein it in. It is what it is at this point, right?
It's only going to get worse until the players and employees.
Mm-hmm.
And things are collectively bargained, and then you can put rules in place. I do not think the federal government is coming to save the NCAA. In fact, the Supreme Court told us that ain't happening. So the system just has to dramatically change. And if they keep trying to say they're not employees, they're just going to keep losing every single court case. And the restrictions are going to get looser and looser and looser. we are headed to a point where a guy can transfer within the conference during the middle of the season and play for someone else
because of money alone, right?
because the NCAA cannot regulate these guys' earning potential. That's what these court cases keep saying, Ted. It's the same ruling over and over and over again. Do I like it? No, I'm not saying I like it. That's the reality of the situation. This feels like it does get us closer to the athletes being employees.
Which is what they want. Or not athletes. This is what like the athletic departments want at this point.
I
And
I completely
well, I guess I
agree.
can't speak for all of them, but it's what a lot of them want because as soon as that happens, you can start to put guardrails in for everyone.
And there's no limit on transferring right now. Just a reminder.
Yeah, because of the
Now,
West Virginia one, right?
yeah, another another thing going on. So it is freedom of movement right now in college football, and the NIL piece of it. Players will now choose where they feel most comfortable, where they like the coaches the most, and where they can make the most money. Just like the rest of us picking a job, and being a college football player is a job. We lived it. It's a job. So there's parts of it I really like. There's parts of it I really don't like. But this is the reality of the sport right now. Anyone that was hoping that the guardrails would be put in place saw this and went, oh no. Oh no, these aren't guardrails.
No, there's there's nothing in place right now. Uh, like there's a lot of things that have happened over the last. It's I don't even know that it's been a decade, but the thoughts of college football, like going back to or like being the and I don't know that it's ever been true, but like the purest form and what it used to be like, it is not. It's not going to happen, and I hate that. The sooner we all like ditch that hope, the more comfortable it'll be. But it's hard. I understand it. We for the longest time it was about school, it was about tradition, it was about you know I, watching your young players come in, develop, turn into to great players as upperclassmen. Like that, it's I just don't see that a return to that type of sport. It's going to be money driven. Who's got the most is who's going to buy the most players, and like, even if they get it to where they're employees, I still believe collectives are going to exist. And let's say you make $100,000 a year as a player through the university. Well, hey, at this place, we can on our collective on top of that can give you 50, 100, $200,000 on top of it because of how much money we've raised. Like that's still always going to be a part of it.
It will just be labeled as marketing now, endorsements, which is what
Right.
it is now. Right now, it's just straight up payment for. I don't even know if any of these players anywhere across the country are really doing anything for the
No
money.
one's done anything. Have you seen any like no? There's it's the same as it's ever been. I mean, the only hope where you can maintain a little bit of traditional college football is they have to find a way to eliminate the transfer portal. Now, I'm not saying that you can't transfer, but there needs to be a penalty outside of like extraordinary circumstances. You need to lose a year of eligibility when you transfer, just like you used to.
That can't happen until they're employees.
Correct.
So I don't know what it's going to look like. I got no clue, but I know this. I know myself. as long as there's guys running out onto Owen Field with OU on the side of their helmet, I'm in. If it's semi-professional football, okay. But the connection I have with OU football, the connection I've always had, I've had a connection with OU football my entire life. It has been one of the most important things in my life for my entire life. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not going to watch or still feel extremely passionate about it, even with all these changes.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep watching. We're going to keep talking about it. But yeah, is it ever going to feel the way that it did 10 years ago? I don't think so. I think that feeling, I don't know if you want to call it purity or whatever you want to call it. It's not dirty now. It's just different. But a lot of the reasons we all loved it 10, 20 years ago, we're just going to have to find new reasons to love it. And I
You
think we
did,
can do that.
yeah. You did say something though that is a very important distinction that I think will come up whenever the negotiations or whatever happen. You have a very close, tight connection, and no matter who runs out on the field, if they're wearing OU, you're going to be there watching, cheering, talking about it. That's important because we get into this conversation about like who deserves the money. The fans in college football are fans of the team, whoever makes up that team. And it cycles a lot. It's not professional sports. They are there to support Oklahoma. So it's like a different distinction than professional sports. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And like
Cheering for the logo.
cheering for the logo. And it doesn't matter who's wearing the logo. That's where I think it gets kind of dicey as, it's almost like a chicken or the egg type of situation, right? With the players, like, yeah, you are the sport and it doesn't happen without you. But at the same time, those people are going to be there whether you're there or not. It's kind of a little bit different model. So that part of it is interesting.
Are are you feeling a little depressed after this conversation?
No, I'm
Okay.
not, because I'm hopeful that we can get to we've gone from players get nothing, you get your education, you play college football, that's awesome. We've gone from that side and we've switched to the far other side where the players have all the power, they can go wherever they want, it's money driven. I think you've got to test both sides before you find the equilibrium where things actually end up working. And for the most part, people are happy. So I think we're testing both sides, and I think we're going to find equilibrium at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it's going to move quickly. It just feels like it has to. But
I, it feels like by the time they settle on like the next, like we got 2 years in the 12 team playoff, right? 25 or 24 and 25. I almost feel like everything's going to be settled by 26. Is that kind of where you are?
that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's like we've got 2 years to figure this thing out.
Mm-hmm.